everybody, my name is Katie and I am behind the Mountain Girl Wellness profile on social media, and welcome to another new moon meditation, and happy new moon in Cancer this June. I am glad you're all here. If this is the first time that you are joining me, then welcome. I am a 200-hour registered yoga teacher, and then I'm also a certified meditation circle leader with the Wild Woman Project. And so these specific meditation videos that I make for the new moon time are all content through the Wild Woman Project. And if you are interested in finding out more about them, you can at www.thewildwomanproject.com. They have a lot of different offerings on there and a lot more coming up. So currently we are in one of their series where we have been looking at a different poet each month at new moon time to inspire our meditation, but I will get into that more later. This will take around 45 minutes to an hour. Anyone is welcome to enjoy this practice, though since the content is through the Wild Woman Project, it is through more of a feminine space. But if you do not identify as female, that's completely okay. You can still enjoy this practice. Just know that it is coming through from that kind of space. This is a donation-based practice because it is online right now. I do typically actually only offer this in person, but due to a couple different things going on in life right now, I have moved the offering online for these last couple sessions. Hopefully I can get them back to being in person in the near future, but I figured this way it was a great way for more people to be able to experience our new moon meditations and see what it's like and see if they might want to join us once it is in person again. So with that being said, this is donation based, so if you feel moved to make a donation, my Venmo information is in the comment section underneath this video. But if you don't feel called to donate in that way, I greatly appreciate a share on social media, liking my page, liking posts, or inviting your friends, anyone you think that might be interested in the content I put out. Inviting them to follow my page is a great help. So I think that's everything. Like I said, during the meditation parts of this video, feel free to get your most comfortable. The most traditional seating for a meditation is to sit upright with your sits bones ground into the floor, but if that does not feel comfortable for you, you are more than welcome to also lay down. Get however you need to make this your practice. It is your practice. So keep that in mind. With that being said, you might also want to turn on some light meditation music to play, or you might like to keep it silent. But we'll go ahead and get started. And anytime I am in person, I do like to start a circle. It's kind of a tradition through the Wild Woman Project to start by lighting a candle. And this candle will just represent the beginning of circle and a reminder and an anchor to kind of draw your attention and your focus into your practice. So let this flame represent the wild spirit that burns within you. And as we awaken our own wild spirit, we awaken the collective spirit. So we're going to begin by just simply doing a nice centering to allow yourself to arrive and become present in your practice and your space. So if you'll get comfortable, whether that is sitting or lying down, taking a nice deep breath, and then on the exhale, allow the eyes to drop closed. If you are seated, make sure your sits bones are ground nicely into the ground beneath you and allowing the spine to lift up towards the sky and the crown of the head. If you're lying down, making sure that you are not holding any tension in the body. Just allowing yourself to just give the body to the earth and let it hold you. No matter the position you are in, feel the ground beneath you. Feel the air on your skin. And take note of how your body is feeling today. Begin to draw your awareness towards your natural breath. You don't have to change or alter your breath in any way. Just notice it. Focusing on the inhales and the exhales. Training your awareness to stay there and using your breath throughout your practice as an anchor for your attention, your awareness, and your focus. Should your mind ever wander outside of this practice, you can always use your breath to come back and turn inward once more. And if you wish, you might set an intention here, or you might just be open to what comes to you. As you continue to focus on your breath, you might begin to notice that your exhales begin to draw out just a little bit longer and begin to slow. And as your exhales lengthen and linger, your inhales will naturally grow deeper and longer as well. And allow yourself to begin to take some of the deepest, longest breaths that you have taken all day. With every exhale, allow the tension to just leave the body. On your next inhale, see if you can begin to inhale that clean new breath up into your mind space. It might take a few moments to get it there, a few rounds of breath. But as you breathe, see if you can pull that breath and that awareness up into the mind space. Once you're fully present there, just be an observer. What does this mind space look like today? Again, don't try to change or alter it in any way. Just simply observe it. You might see in colors, shapes. You might see people or scenes, or you might see nothing at all, and that's okay. Just be here and present in that space for a moment. Now, very gently, as you continue to breathe, start to direct that breath into your heart space, pulling it down from the mind space with every inhale and allowing it to fill the heart space there in the center of your chest. Again, it might take a few rounds of breath to get it there, but as you do, just to once again observe what this space looks like. Don't try to alter it in any way. We're just paying attention to our bodies. Does it look similar to the mind space, or does it look different? Either way, it's okay. We're just taking a note of where we're at in this present moment. Now, just for a moment, connect to whatever it is that you feel as being divine. That could be a higher power. It could be just an energy in the universe, or even just an energy within yourself. But whatever that thing is to you, take a moment here to make a connection to it, completing the connection that we have made between the mind, the body, and the spirit. And just allow yourself to be open to any intuition or any messages from that which you hold divine. As you feel ready, allow the breath to return to your natural breath. Gently peel the eyes open. Maybe pause our video here and turn towards a journal or a notebook and make any notes that you wish to remember for later to turn back to about anything that came to you during the centering, maybe what your headspace or your heart space looked like in this moment. Go ahead and make any notes that you need and then come back to me when you are ready. All right, so hope you're feeling nice and relaxed. And before we move ahead, I'm going to introduce to you our theme. So this is the new moon in Cancer, And the reason we do a meditation around the new moon is because if you follow the moon phases, the new moon is a time where the moon has released all of her energy. It's a completely new start, getting ready to build up into a brand new moon phase. So it's a great time to center yourself, meditate, and kind of set an intention for yourself moving forward. And this new moon is happening where I live on the earth on June 28th at 10:52 p.m. officially, but that might differ depending on what hemisphere you find yourself in on this earth, and what place you find yourself in. And then our full moon for this cycle will be July 13th. So during the full moon, it'll be a great time to check in with the intention that you set for yourself today on the new moon. Like I said, it's the new moon in Cancer. So Cancer is the fourth astrological sign, and it's represented by the crab. It is associated with the element of water, and then it is ruled by the moon as its planetary ruler. So a lot of feminine qualities to this zodiac sign, and emotional qualities, good and bad. It is a cardinal sign and part of the water trigon. If that is something you're interested in, you can research that a little bit more on your own time. But Cancer is associated with being emotional and being devoted and being very in tune and caring very greatly for loved ones and for friends and for the things that you care about most. So those are great things to think about during this season of Cancer, whether you are a Cancer or you are not a Cancer, something you can kind of think about when you're setting your intentions. So like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the content I used for these specific meditations comes from the Wild Woman Project, and currently we are within the series called The Path of the Poet, where each month our theme for the meditation is inspired by a prolific female poet. And so this month's theme is inspired by the poet Anais Nin. And our theme for today is called The Risk It Took to Blossom. So I'm going to read the poem to you and then kind of introduce our poet here as well. So Anais Nin, she is no longer with us. She was born in 1903 and died in the 1970s. She's a French poet whose parents, she was born in France and her parents were actually musicians. And so she grew up in a very artistic home, I would assume. And if you look at the years she was alive, she saw a lot of war and a lot of change, and she ended up moving to the United States, and she became a famous essayist, novelist, poet, and she was one of the people who were kind of first recognized in the feminist movement as well. And I think kind of when we hear our poem and we move kind of into our meditation, if you look at her a little more of kind of the things she represented during her time, I think it's crazy that the content we look at each month always seems to sort of coincide with things that are going on presently in our, well, specifically my country, but our world in general. Even though this content was chosen way ahead of time, I think it's always things that a lot of times we need to hear. But She was really big into the women's rights movement, and her most famous thing that has been published was actually some of her diaries and her journals. So if you have time to go kind of research her, please do. But we are going to specifically be looking at one of her poems today that I'm going to read to you now. It's a very short poem. Sometimes I know I have longer poems on here, but this one's a short one, but I think it's still very powerful. And it's called Risk by a Nice Nin. And I'll read that to you now. And then the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. So, like I said, a short poem, but I think it holds a lot of meaning. You see, of course, this metaphor of coming from a bud to allowing yourself to blossom. But there's also that idea of weighing a risk versus a risk. Anytime a decision is being made, there's usually a lot of fear of change, or there's always a risk whether you decide to stay where you're at in that tight bud. There's a risk with that, or there's a risk taking that leap and changing and fighting for change to bloom. And that probably means something different to a lot of people. I think that's the really great thing about poetry, is we all hear the same poem but get a different meaning out of it. There's also this idea of finding the right time as well. But I'll read it one more time since it is short. And then I want you to kind of pause, take it in, maybe write down a few notes about messages that you find within the words. You might even comment on this video and kind of share what you got out of the poem. But I'll say that poem one more time here, and then we'll move on. Risk by a Nice Nin. And then the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. So if you want to pause the video here, like I said, and spend a few minutes with a journal, please do. And then we will move along. So we are going to move into our main meditation that was inspired by this poem. But first, I always do in my in-person meditation circle, we all practice in pulling an oracle card. If you're not familiar with oracle cards, they're not tarot cards. They are beautiful cards created from an artist's idea and imagery, but they are a great almost journaling prompt for your own inner intuition. You might see something in the words or the images that sparks something within you that makes you kind of connect to that inner thought process and inner intuition. So since we are not in person and we can't all draw our own card, if you have a deck of cards at home, you might want to pause this video and draw your own card, but I'm going to draw a collective card for us all. And you might see something within the card immediately that you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I know exactly how this correlates to me. And you might not. It might be something that happens later on in your moon cycle that you think back to this card and you're like, oh my gosh, now it all makes sense. So I today am using the deck Mystical Wisdom, written by Gay Guthrie. This is what it looks like if you want the information for the deck. And I've been sitting here shuffling the cards up. And once I pull it, I will show it to the camera, but I will also post a picture of it on my social media first thing in the morning after our new moon time, so that you can kind of reflect on it better and see a better picture of it. All right. Let's take all in a big collective inhale and an exhale, focusing on our deck. I will just intuitively pull a card here. I have pulled the money card. Find a way to abundance. So lots and lots of detailed artwork in this card. If you need to pause here and check it out, please do. And like I said, I will post a better picture of the card. But take a moment here to take it in and turn towards your journal once more. First, I like to allow you to see what you get from the card for yourself, but I will also here in a moment read the artist's intended meaning behind the card as well. So pause here if you need, and then I will gather the information from the artist here for you. I will read that so you get the meaning that they put forth for the card, but also it's most important to find the meaning that you get out of the cards. But here is their little snippet for that card. So the money card. Find a way to abundance. Don't worry. You will find a solution to gain the money you require, or the abundance that you require. Though you may have suffered a misfortune, know that there are always people around you to help. There is always a way out. Find your internal fortitude and guiding light to persist in gaining back what you have lost. Do the best you can with what you have, and if you need help, ask for it. Things will get better. The mantra they have for this is, have faith that a solution is possible. And wow, giving everything going on in the United States government right now, a lot of stuff has happened politically and around the world this week, and I think that card really sums up what a lot of people are looking for and feeling. I don't know if you got that same idea out of it, but wow, I think that that was a great card for this moon cycle. So like I said, if you need a moment to kind of sit with that, please do pause me, and then when you're ready, we will begin our main meditation here. All right, so once again, get comfortable, whether that is being seated or lying down. Again, you might want to have some mood music playing, just whatever you are most comfortable with for your practice. While you get comfy in your space, I'm going to once more just read that poem by Anais Nin, and we will head straight into our meditation. So if you need another minute, pause me here, but if not, we will begin. So Risk by Anais Nin. And then the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. So begin to give yourself the gift of getting comfortable here, sitting tall or lying down. Taking a big, deep inhale through the nose, and on the exhale, allowing the eyes to gently close if they have not already. And begin to return to that space you created for yourself during your centering. Soften the jaw. Allow any tension to leave the forehead. Allow the tension to seep down into the ground with every exhale. And let a new wave of breath come in. Imagine it illuminating your lungs and your chest. And gently exhale any old, stale energy you might be holding on to. And as you take your next exhale, be intentional with your new inhale. And feel how the inhalation animates you, your spirit, and your body. And then exhale once more. Keep cycling your breath, letting each cycle bring you more and more and more into your inner space. This inner world inside of you. We are all so different, and we experience our inner spaces in different ways. Some of us might get images or colors that we see in an inner vision. Others of us might feel a great deal. We might feel the subtleties of emotional flow with every inhale and every exhale. We might sense that in an instinctual way. And some of us might even hear sounds or words, music that flows through the mind and through the body. Through all of that, there are so many shades of color, sound, and sensing that we are all experiencing. And as we all sit within this practice together, whether you are near or far, wherever you are in this world, we explore this inner world together. Inhale and exhale. And as you continue focusing on this breath, I ask you if it feels okay with the next few inhales to begin to form an image in the mind. And allow yourself to experience this meditation with whatever comes as we walk through this inner world together. Just keep saying yes to whatever shows up today in this inner world that we're creating. Imagine now that you are walking alone through a green field in early summer. And it's beautiful and green everywhere. In the center of this field is a great big tree. And that tree sort of just draws you to it in that way that big trees do. You walk over to this tree, taking in the sights and the sounds around you, and all the smells. And because the sun is up, you decide to sit in the shade of this tree. So you sit down over the roots on the soft grass. The sitting down feels just so good that you decide to lay down. You lay your body down underneath this great big tree. And the feeling of the earth below you, the grass, the roots, is so relaxing and nourishing that you start to fall in an almost sleep state in between waking and sleeping. Allow a memory to float in, just the way memories do, of a time in your life where the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. This memory comes in full color, in full remembrance. This moment between growth, this moment in the midst of growth. Can you remember what it felt like for you to be tight in that bud? Really remember before the change. Now I ask you, can you remember what it felt like when you blossomed? When you burst forth from the bud into the blossom and you took that risk. What did that feel like? Can you remember what it took for you to make that leap to change? To go from a tight in a bud to blossoming. What did it take? What did it ask of you? Perhaps what were the conditions outside and inside that allowed for you to make that change? Our past selves usually have a way of teaching us what we most need to know. Just breathe. Inhales and exhales. Suddenly you hear a bird song and a melody that you faintly recognize. This melody stirs your heart the way melodies do. You're still laying underneath that big tree, and the wind is moving gently. And the branches of the tree is waving, and the leaves of the trees are trembling. And you remember that you are held here on this earth, along with every other thing that you, with every member of the living family, are subject to change, are required to risk in order to grow. You gently sit up underneath this tree once more, and you look out at that green field, and it has turned into a field of wildflowers, purple and blue, pink and yellow and white, so many colors bursting forth towards you. You can hear a whisper. You might have to strain your ears to hear it at first, and it seems to come from everywhere. You hear this whisper say, "Then the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom." You look out, you see those colorful flowers, and it's almost as if they're smiling. And there are butterflies flying around and bumblebees. And the whisper begins to get louder. Then the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. You stand up with your feet on the ground, and a great big tree behind your back, and with the field of wildflowers behind you. And you can feel the palpable vibration running all around and through you. Then the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. Taking an inhale and an exhale, and begin to find your way back into the room or the space that you're sitting in this body, in this breath, and in this moment. And it might even feel good to take your hands and rub them somewhere on your body, just feeling your skin and feeling the warmth within yourself. And once you feel like you are fully back present within your space, allowing your eyes to begin to open, taking as much time as you need here, but pausing this video and moving towards your journal, recording anything that came to you, anything that you want to look back on later and take in as you move through this moon cycle. And when you're ready, just hit play once more. Okay, so normally now during our in-person time, this is a time for sharing anything that you wish to share in circle. It's a sacred space, but as this is an online space, it takes away that element just a little bit here. But if there's anything that you wish to share in comments below, that space of course is always available, but also this is a sacred moment that you are having within your practice, so it's totally fine to share nothing as well. If anything, you might want to go to a mirror within your house, looking over what you've journaled today, what came to you during meditation, and maybe speak your truth to yourself in that mirror. Or if you're doing this practice with someone else, perhaps you want to pause the video here again and take a moment to have your own little sharing time and talk through this with the person that you're with and who you're practicing with. But now we are going to take a moment to look over everything that we have thought about within this meditation practice, and we're going to set intentions for ourselves to move through and work through during this moon cycle, this new moon in Cancer, through to the full moon, and then through to our next new moon. So you can make your intention anything that you want it to be, but if you do want a bit of a prompt, you might think about, what am I willing to do to take that risk to blossom? So maybe look over all your notes and just make a sentence or two of what you want your intention to be moving forward. How are you going to blossom this new moon? So pause me here if you need to. Either write your intention down or on your journal, or maybe on a little piece of paper where you can pause it and take a look at it each day moving through the new moon cycle. But if you are ready, we will kind of move into our closing. If you, like I said, need to pause here, please do. But if you're ready and you have your intention in mind, we'll go ahead and kind of do a last little centering to close out this space and close out our meditation time with one another. So go ahead once more and either lie or sit in a nice meditative position, allowing the eyes to close, focusing back in on your breath, allowing the breath to slow once more. And maybe placing your hands upon your heart space. Begin to anchor the breath into this space once more. And really use this moment to write your intention on your heart. Breathe it into your body and into this heart space. And as you anchor your intention within yourself, imagine that as you breathe into this space, a light begins to grow at the center of your chest. It can be any color light, it can be any amount of brightness. But as you breathe, your light begins to amplify. And it starts to shine out into the room and into your space. And imagine that there is this light in the middle of everyone's heart space all over the world. Different colors, different sizes, maybe different shapes. But all of these heart lights creates a web, a thread connecting all of us together, all of us here in this space, and all of us around the whole world. Taking an inhale and an exhale, allowing your awareness to drop deeper into yourself and into your practice, but knowing that these heart lights connection is there all of the time, connecting us all. Taking in a big breath and letting out a deep sigh to open your eyes once more. And if you on your own would like to do a little ritual with your intention in your own space, whether that is to maybe plant a little flower with your intention or whatever moves you, please feel free to do that on your own space and time. But I hope that you honor your intentions moving forward through this moon phase. And that will conclude our time together. So I will formally end this circle by asking you to bring your prayer hands to heart center. And today we have honored ourselves and our bodies and each other in circle and meditation and in our practice. We have honored the space within us that is love, peace, truth, and light. That light within me sees and honors the light within you. And when we are both within that space, it is like we are one. As I blow out our candle today, please allow that wild flame to continue to burn within each of you. Namaste. Thank you for joining me in this practice, and I hope to see you again for our new moon next month. Like I said, I will post the card that I pulled from today along with our poem on my Instagram and Facebook pages, so be sure that you are following me on there. And I do apologize for any interesting background noises as I am filming inside today because the weather did not permit me to be outside as normal, so my dogs have been kind of scurrying around the camera this whole time. But I hope you enjoyed. Please feel free to leave me anything in the comments section that you wish to. And I hope you have a great new moon in Cancer this season. Thank you and goodbye.